long time ago that songs are made up of different pitches on the piano. And if we know how to write down those pitches, we are going to know how to read those pitches. We have also learned that we use a line to represent a pitch or a sound on the piano. And we know that the distance from one line up to another line or one line down to another line is the interval of a third. We also know that if we know the name of one of those lines, we're going to be able to figure out the names of the rest of those lines by going up or down in thirds. We've been talking a lot about the staff, and we have drawn ladders, but we know that the staff is simply one of our ladders representing the sounds or pitches on the piano that we use the most often. We also learned how to draw a G clef and an F clef, and these clefs or these keys, remember the word clef is French for the word key, so the G clef and the F clef are telling us where the G line and the F line is, so that we can figure out what the rest of the lines are. So today we are going to learn the final 4 lines of the staff. These are the B and the D lines that we're going to learn today. We're going to review the lines of the staff that we have already learned. So with a piece of paper or a small whiteboard or chalkboard in front of you, go ahead and draw an 11-lined staff and add your G clef and your F clef. So I'm going to play one of the sounds on the piano, and I want you to draw it on your staff. So first up, let's do this one right here. This is middle C. Next up, let's do this one. This is high F. Let's do this one. This is the F that sits on the F clef line. Looks like this. What is this one? This is low G. This is the lowest line on the staff. How about this one? This is the G that sits on the G clef line. Next up is this note. This was one that we learned in the last lesson. This note is a third below middle C. This is A. And then this note. This note is a third above middle C, and it looks like this. Okay, so you can see on your staff that we have a few lines that are left blank. I want you to take a minute and see, knowing what you know and knowing the notes that you already know on the staff, can you figure out the names of the lines that are still blank? Go ahead and take a minute to do that now. Okay, let's talk about the line right above the G that sits on our G clef. Okay, so we know this note, but we don't know the line above this note. But what we do know is the distance from one line to another line is the interval of a third. So back here at the piano, here's the G that we do know, but this is the line that we don't know on the staff, or maybe you figured it out. So using what we know about thirds, if we know one line is this G, then we know the line above that G is this B. So this B looks like this. And using those same principles, if we know that this line is B, what is the line above B? So back here at the piano, we go up another third and we find D. So now we've just discovered, and maybe you already had, that the two lines on our G clef staff, or what we also call the treble staff for our right hand, the lines that we had left to figure out were B and were D. So now we have two lines down for our left hand in the bass part of our staff, or where our F clef is, and let's see if we can figure out what those two lines are. So you can see here, these are the two lines that we don't know yet. See if you can take a minute and figure out what the names of those lines are. Okay, so using what we know about intervals of thirds, let's go to our F. This is the F that sits on the F clef line. If we know that this is F, and we know that a third below the F line is one of the notes we don't know, so then we go down a third, and we find D. So the line below F would be D. And then simply we go down one more third and we discover that the last line is B. So we just learned a B and a D line on the treble part of the staff, and we also learned a B and a D line on the bass part of the staff. Here's a review of the farm scene songs for you to watch. If you've been learning that song with me, I would encourage you to continue playing it. Let's go ahead today and review by ear a second, or a third, or a fifth. So I'm going to play one of these intervals. I want you to close your eyes and tell me which interval I'm playing. So go ahead and close your eyes. It will either be a second, a third, or a fifth. So with your eyes closed, here's the first interval. That one is a third. Here's another interval. That one's a second. Here's another interval. That one's a fifth. You can open your eyes and see that's a fifth. Here's another one. Close your eyes. This is a third. And we'll do one more. And that is a fifth. Today we're going to do 2 time dictations. This first time dictation is going to be 4 measures with 3 pulses in each measure. So once again, it's going to be 4 measures with 3 pulses in each measure. So go ahead and get a piece of paper ready in front of you with 4 measures. I'm going to play the time dictation through a couple times. This time I'm not going to do it measure by measure, but I'll play it through a number of times completely, and then if you need to, go back and rewind the video a little bit and you can listen to the song as many times as you need. Okay, so 4 measures in front of you, 3 pulses in each measure. So here we go. Here it is again. This time I'm going to turn the metronome on and I'm going to play it through again. So here's the metronome. 1, ready, go. Play it one more time with the metronome. 1, ready, go. So let's take a look at what that dictation looks like. That 4-measure dictation with 3 pulses in each measure looks like this. While you are looking at that, I'll play it one more time. So we have a 2-pulse note in that first measure followed by a 1-pulse note. Then we have 2 measures, both with 3 1-pulse notes. And then we end on a 3-pulse note. So here it is one more time. And here's a second dictation for today. So this dictation is also going to have 4 measures, but it's going to have 4 pulses in each measure. So go ahead and get a piece of paper or a whiteboard in front of you. This dictation will have 4 measures and 4 pulses in each measure. Okay, so here it is. I'll play it through all the way a couple times. I'll add a metronome this time. 2 more times. Okay, here it is without a metronome. And with a metronome. So that dictation looks like this. And let me play it for you while you're looking at the notes. Here we go. So our first measure, we have 4 one-pulse notes. Then we have 2 two-pulse notes in our second measure. We have 3 one-pulse notes in our third measure and a 4-pulse note in our fourth measure. So let me turn the metronome on and I'll play it one more time for you. So as we continue down this path of learning to write and to read music, unless we know how loud or how soft to play the sounds on the piano, we can't possibly know how to play our songs correctly musically unless we know how to play these notes loud or soft on the piano. And so as you begin playing, or as we start playing, we realize that these keys kind of resist our fingers differently as to whether if we're playing soft or if we're playing loud. So if I experiment a little bit by playing these 3 notes soft, it feels very different than if I'm playing them loud. So to be able to tell how much force or how much power is required for each note, you must always notice for each note how much the key is going to resist you before you ever even go to play that key on the piano. So to practice this a little bit, I want you to take your right hand thumb and put it on the G of our G clef. And then we're going to play the G with our thumb, the next B with our middle finger, and the D with our pinky. Okay, so let's try playing these 3 notes very quietly, but at the same time. Then I want you to do the same thing with those 3 notes and play them loud. And you'll feel that there is a difference in resistance from the keys on the piano as to whether you play them soft or play them loud. Try the same thing with your left hand too, except put your pinky on a G, then your middle finger on the next B, and your thumb on the D. And practice playing with your left hand, playing those 3 notes at the same time, playing them soft or playing them loud. So never play any note without trying your best to feel exactly how much each key is going to resist being moved. If you think, for example, of what each key wants, this will also help you think of what the music wants for every note. And that will make you understand the right sound for each key. Okay, my friends, we have completed another lesson. We now know all the lines on the staff. So for your homework this week, continue drawing the staff, and now you can label every line on the staff. Don't forget to draw your G clef and your F clef as well. So for rhythm, I want you to try writing a longer rhythm. So instead of doing the 3 or 4 measures that I usually ask you to do, write 8 measures out with either 3 or 4 pulses in each measure. So go ahead and try to write out 8 measures and then find any sound on the piano and play those measures a couple times in a row. And then last of all, continue working on Farm Scenes, the farmhouse song, if you're enjoying playing that.